the felon was wandering on the roof of the White House. Is this happening all the time? Republicans start to turn on Republicans in Texas. The Clintons absolutely destroyed the Republicans during a congressional hearing. And how did the Dems do in the Senate in 2026? Let's look into all that. Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. First off, a huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the channel. Thank you for liking, watching, commenting on the videos, sharing the videos with your friends or on your social media platforms. Certainly has not gone unnoticed. It's all greatly, greatly appreciated. Um, so they say he was walking around on the roof with the architect or an architect. Seemed a bit weird. Let's look into that. Let's ask, is this happening all the time? Is he wandering around other places? We know he's delusional about his golf game. So how, like, is it just this pathological lying, or is this like delusion starting to take a turn? And I think it's starting to take a turn. I really don't think we are far away from seeing the end. Um, Republicans in California are turning on Republicans in Texas. Republicans in other states are also will be turning on Republicans in Texas because the Republicans in California know that if they uh, redraw the maps in the way that Texas is redrawing the maps, there'll probably only be maybe a handful of Republicans left in the state of California. And they could probably be more aggressive than that. Democrats are really willing to take 50-50 districts because they know that they're ahead. Um, the Clintons have been subpoenaed to testify in the Epstein thing. This is going to blow up dramatically. When I was scrying this morning, I could see Secretary Clinton just absolutely annihilating Republicans with her words. And I would not be surprised if they show up with some victims as um, their guests. And what are the Dems' chances of taking the Senate? Well, the last time I read on this, I thought not very good. I still think probably not very good, but definitely better. So let's actually look at that. And let's start with that question, and then we'll get into the Clintons testifying in front of Congress, Republicans turning on each other, and what's going on with the felons' mental state. I mean, we kind of already know the answer, but like, are these episodes getting to where it's going to become really hard to deny? I think is more uh, where we should focus our attention. Okay, so how did the Dems do in the Senate? Show us happens in the Senate. 6. Okay. Feel pretty confident the Democrats win North Carolina. Feel pretty confident the Democrats win Michigan as well. Now that would just be a hold for the Democrats, not a pickup. Do you think Democrats, I think John Ossoff does fine in Georgia. I think he wins. Take a look at that. I don't see any Democrat losing, like I don't see Democrats losing any seats. I think their big pickup opportunities, North Carolina, and then after that, Maine. Um, we'll see if Susan Collins retires or if she runs again. I think she's going to run again. And if she runs again, I think they've got a really good chance. If she retires, then it's like almost a lock that the Democrats will win Maine. I think the Democrats have a chance to take out Dan Sullivan in Alaska. if Mary Patola decides to run, but she might wait until Lisa Murkowski retires. But she's definitely been traveling around the state. I think Texas could be close if Ken Paxton's the nominee, like we talked about in the last video. And I took some heat for saying that Colin Allred won't win, but that's what I see. So I just tell you what I see. Um, I do think there's a possibility that Joni Ernst retires or loses in Iowa if Democrats can recruit the right person. And I've always seen Democrats picking up two, possibly even three House seats in Iowa. There's that one district that there's no way the Democrats would pick up, but the one is like, I think pretty guaranteed to flip unless Iowa redoes their map somehow. Which I don't think they will. Um, then there's the special election in Ohio as well to replace Vance. And there might be two special elections. I see a death in the Senate. I talked about that before. It might be Chuck Grassley. That's not actually what I'm thinking, but um, it 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 certainly could be McConnell as well. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was Ron Johnson from Wisconsin. I don't know why I'm getting a big hit on that, but um, in which case I think the Democrats pick up that seat. So not wishing ill on him necessarily. It's just I don't know, there's something about his energy feels really ill. So, okay. What did the Democrats do? Now, I'm not positive any of those three. But those are the three that stick out the most to me. Democrats. I think Wisconsin will redraw their house maps, by the way. It's like this whole Texas thing is just a breath of fresh air because it's scary, but because it's given the Senate a new Democrats more hope in the Senate. Like Republicans aren't messing around. And of course, Senate seats are statewide, so they're not gerrymandered except for by the state borders, I guess. But um, if Democrats stick to the economy, and tariffs, economy, tariffs, and grocery prices, uh, he was going to fix it on day one, big tax breaks for the rich. If they stick to that, they'll do quite fine. Now, if they wander off into the weeds on other things, I'm not so sure. Now, I know there are core democratic principles that we all agree on here. Uh, but if we want to win elections, I don't necessarily think we talk about some of those things. And this is what I was talking about the resistance getting divided. This worries me because people are going to want this big push for, talking about immigration. Now, that'll probably work in some states, but that's not probably a winning message in like Ohio. It's probably not a winning message in Iowa. Um, but it could be a winning message in some other places, and particularly in Texas to get people motivated to vote. People of color in particular motivated to vote, get them registered to vote. Um, Yeah, this is the strength card. It makes perfect sense. The Democrats have to walk softly but speak clearly. Like they can't burn down any bridges with their positions. And I know for a lot of people that's a little bit upsetting, but that's just the way you win elections. I mean, do we want universal health care? Absolutely. Do we want to get rid of insurance companies? Absolutely. Would we like to see the end of using fossil fuels? Probably most of us would, but those aren't winning messages. So, you can't do anything if you don't win. So you're going to have to be defensive on immigration. They just are. Not now, what the felon is doing is reprehensible, and that part is fine to attack. But to sit here and um, that part's completely immoral, and Democrats should attack on that. But they shouldn't talk like they're for open borders, the way the Republicans talk. So they have to be a little bit careful. I think the best way to do this is to just run, win, and then try to handle it. And just kind of suddenly people will know. It's kind of like when Obama ran in 2008. Everybody knew he was for marriage equality. He said he wasn't, but everybody knew he was. So I think it's kind of got to be kind of along those lines. I think we might be in for some surprises. I really do. I think this Texas stuff changed the energy a little bit. I think, you know, um, corn prices in particular have been completely devastated, which is why I think Iowa might be in play. Uh, Same with Texas beef prices. I mean, beef is extremely expensive in the grocery store, but the people raising beef aren't making money. So uh, it's like this bizarre domino effect. And we get temperance. People want moderation. It's like they learned their lesson. And this election in 2026 will be like telling the world we learned our lesson. This was a mistake and we got to correct it. Yeah, I think the Democrats have a better fundraising than they would have before. Remember when I read on this before, I said fundraising was going to be pretty hard for Democrats, even in this year's elections in Virginia and New Jersey. I think fundraising is not going to be great for the Democrats, but I think they'll be, especially in New Jersey, I think Mickey Sherrill will start to pick up because people are going to know that New Jersey might be able to redraw their map if Texas does it. We get death and rebirth. This makes me think that there's an extra seat that we don't know about. I think that's just confirmation of that. Now, the death card certainly doesn't need to be physical death and usually doesn't, but in this case, I think it does. Again, it feels like it's in that, like, if you picture the US and you like put your hand over Michigan and your thumb down here, your thumb covers Kentucky, then Iowa, Wisconsin. It feels like it's in those areas. That's what I see. I think the election will go like this. It'll either be a huge win for Democrats, in which case they take the Senate, or it'll be somewhat close and they only take the House. But what the Republicans are doing is not helping their case. People don't like this. Uh, we get lost. I think Democrats have lost in the past. They know how to learn from this. They're putting up guardrails to protect themselves from certain things. And I think they're going to have a good fundraising year. And I think the voters are going to respond to their message and the voters are going to choose them. And we're going to have some fiery new leadership, which puts an end to a lot of this deceit. So if the Democrats can get both the Senate and the House, then basically the Republican president is neutered, right? He won't be able to do anything. So and by all means, I have not changed my prediction whatsoever. I think the felon goes in the fall of this year. Um, the fall decorations are out. A lot of you keep commenting on that, which is great. That was um, I still feel like it's a little bit away, a couple months away, into September, possibly into October. Let's just hope we're right. I'm not always right by any stretch. I can be wrong, but I don't I don't think so. Not on this one. Okay, let's move to the Republicans turning on the Republicans in Texas. I want to switch decks here. Okay. So California Republicans are telling Texas Republicans to stop it because they know they're going to lose their jobs. Um, New York Republicans, the same thing, although it might take till 2028. But um, and I don't know what the Republicans do if the Democrats ever take control of Texas and gerrymander that the other way around. Like that would be, if Democrats ever controlled Texas, it would be really hard to see Republicans winning the House. If we can just draw maps at free will. Now, again, I think the court's going to keep this from happening, but we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. Republicans turning Republicans in Texas. What do we need to know about that? It's a different time. Like things, like the realization that they're going to lose is really setting in. Um, Even if they were to gerrymander the Texas map in Missouri and um, I still don't think they win the House. I just don't think so because I think districts that are, 60-40 Republican, probably the Democrats win. It feels like there's that, you know, um, well, maybe not 60-40, but maybe more like, 55-45. There's that like 6 or 7 point shift, right? So that's 14 points total in both directions. Um, we get the Knight of Pentacles. They're seeing the money fly, and the money isn't going to Republicans right now. It's going to Democrats. Ah, they understand that there's some serious plans, not just in California, but in Maryland, New Jersey, um, you know, probably not Washington, although it's possible, Washington State, that is, um, but it's possible. They're seeing the voters react, and I mean, the voters just aren't for this. This is very much a crossroads situation, and both paths lead to them losing, but one path leads to them losing by a lot more, and that's if they try this Texas thing. It's a tricky, precarious situation with the Knight of Swords. And, it's all about greed. It's all about greed. And that's how the voters view it. People aren't like the people that are really partisan, we're going to vote for Republicans anyhow, right? But most people aren't, and well, not most, but there's like a good 20% of people that aren't inherently partisan. So, yeah, they might lose those 5 seats in Texas, but they're going to pick up, seats in Iowa and Michigan and Pennsylvania and New York and probably Florida as well. Florida redraws the map, maybe not so much, but uh, they see that the Democrats are ready to do battle. The five of wands here, and families, reunions, and celebrations. The 10 of cups. It's the end of pretending that that they even care about being fair. So fiery leadership coming in, it's a crossroads moment, and it's an end of Republicans even pretending to care, which is a win for families because the Democrats ultimately um, benefit from this. The voter seat is greed. It's a crossroads, and they don't know the discussions that are going around on the kitchen tables about how bad things are yet. The voters have a big opinion on it. They feel like it's battle as well. And they very much feel like if they let Republicans control all three branches of government or all three branches of the legislature, an executive branch, the House, the Senate, and the presidency, um, that could be bad news. And I think the Republicans know that this is just boosting fundraising for the Democrats. Underneath the Wheel of Fortune, it's a huge gamble. I don't think it pays off. Emotional messages coming forward, and they're going to have to defend it. That's the thing is not just the Republicans in Texas, but Republicans around the country are going to have to defend this. And it's indefensible. So that's why Republicans are starting to turn on Texas. This was the felon's idea. Um, and like the saying goes, everything the felon touches dies. This is what's going to happen as well. Okay, we'll look at the felon wandering around and his episodes here in just a second. Let's take a look at the Clintons. So the Clintons have been subpoenaed to testify about Epstein, and both Hillary and Bill, Secretary Clinton and President Clinton. And when I was scrying on this morning, I got the same feeling that I had when I watched Secretary Clinton testify about Benghazi, where she just made him look like a fool. Now, people weren't really paying attention to Benghazi, but people will be paying attention to this. And I can just see Secretary Clinton saying things like, well, why don't you call Epstein's victims if you want to know more? Why would I know anything? And, and I wouldn't be surprised if she throws President Clinton under the bus a little bit either and goes, "But if you're going to call Bill because he wrote a birthday card, why aren't you calling the current president who also wrote a birthday card?" It's going to be a mess. It's like a terrible decision by Republicans. So Democrats should have a lot of fun with this, and it should be just another blow for the felon Epstein. Whether the felon's still around, that's another story. But I think this is supposed to happen relatively soon. So I think so. What do we need to know about to testify? It's going to be a disaster for Republicans. I can see President Clinton throwing out cognitive decline remarks about Trump basically not answering questions, just saying whatever they want because they're trained politicians. With the Queen of Swords, consistency, logic, strength. I mean, Secretary Clinton is really good at congressional hearings. She's done a number of them. Uh, the magician, this feels like President Clinton here working some magic and some behind the scenes stuff. I do think they show up with victims, for example, or they show up with um, something to make Republicans nervous, some people that would make Republicans nervous. Not sure exactly, but it feels like some victims. The Four of Cups. This is going to, if there was apathy on some people's part, it will be gone after this is done when it comes to the Epstein. Now, Republicans will try all their lies and their tricks, but it's going to backfire. Uh, is President Clinton guilty of something? I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's not. I'm not going to tell you that he is. I'm going to tell you that the American people aren't going to care because he's not currently the president. I mean, they might care, but they don't care as much as they care about the current president. Um, the greedy merchant will be the center of attention, which will be the felon, Nine of Cups. Expect a lot of emotional messages coming out. Expect, you know, expect the unexpected. Expect Secretary Clinton in particular to evoke emotions around the issue of sexual abuse in ways that, you know, perhaps only someone of her standing can. I mean, she traveled around the world. She's seen, horrible things and atrocities around the world that could speak to, and they can just speak the truth. The truth isn't is good enough for her. Now, they probably are going to try to impeach and impugn President Clinton, and maybe rightfully so. I don't know. Um, I just think that he'll divert because he's a politician. He'll be just fine. Expect a spy in the camp here. That's interesting. The Page of Swords. Yeah. I'd be surprised if there's one Republican that actually asks some serious questions. Like, we all know that the Clintons hung out with the felon and his family before, so might be something to it. And messages about money coming out. That could be interesting. So expect logical, truthful, and commanding testimony about the greedy merchant. And perhaps they know some stuff about money that we don't know that they know about. Interesting. They know more than people think they know about the felon. Um, and it'll shake up the apathetic people to start to pay attention to this. So the star is going to be Secretary Clinton. President Clinton will be there, but he won't be the big star of the show. Of course, Republicans will lie to impugn anybody. I think one Republican, though, might ask some actual serious questions. And we get emotional messages coming forward. So this looks pretty good. It's a big gamble by Republicans. I'm not sure what they know, but it's an odd choice to have them come testify. I don't see what good can come of it for them. Uh, if they were, seeking the truth, then perhaps what's going to come. And then we get the Sun. I think this is a pretty big blunder on their part, but we shall see. Okay, so what is going on with the felon? He was wandering around on the roof of the White House. They later said that he was with the architect. I guess they're going to try to say this has something to do with the ballroom. Um, sure. So what do we need to know about the felon? Is he having episodes in the White House where he doesn't know where he is or doesn't know what he's doing? We've seen him slip a lot lately. It's getting worse. Do we need to know? See the Page of Cups in the water. And in this deck, I think that's the one where, he can barely keep his head above water. It's the description. in this deck. This is the Unveiled Tarot. He's still having a lot of anger issues. Can feel that. Um, he's not in control of his faculties. I can feel that too. And both mental and physical faculties, by the way. I don't think he's able to control his um, having incontinence issues as well, which has been reported, but it seems like it's worse. Um, yeah, his health keeps getting worse and worse and worse. He's crumbling before their eyes. They're noticing. Every day's a gamble. You never know what you're going to get with the Wheel of Fortune. I think he has good days and I think he has bad days. I think his good days aren't that great, and I think his bad days aren't that bad per se, but they're going to get worse, and his good days are going to be less and less. Ah, the Queen of Wands. He's still directing the show. I know a lot of people don't think he is, but he still is. We get the Empress. This Russia stuff has really gotten under his goat. Um, Putin released some pictures of Melania, but I think, and we read on this before, I think the felon thinks that a lot of this Epstein stuff is being leaked to the press through some Russian connection as well. That's why there's two submarines that have nuclear capabilities heading towards Russia. Nothing's going to come of that, by the way. I don't see that. I'll look at it if I think there is. Um, they're just waiting for Vance to take over. They're just like we are. They're just waiting. And I'm not saying Vance will be a good president, but that's who takes over. That's just the way the Constitution works. I don't make the rules the way it works. The Seven of Swords. Yeah, I mean, his lies are getting more egregious, but then there's a little bit of truth mixed into it. So, here's kind of a person perjuring themselves in the court of law, is the imagery here. And it just feels like, he just can't keep things straight. The the Page of Wands. Uh, I'm just gonna take this as they're hanging from the cliff, and if you look really closely, the rope is actually a tree branch in the middle, which is the wand. But um, it's a precarious situation. And the Knight of Cups, he keeps looking more and more a fool, riding a unicycle in the knight's outfit. It is a pretty interesting way to think about it, I guess. But this is going to become more and more frequent if we take um, these things are going to become more and more frequent. And then we get the Sun card, and this is interesting. The roller coaster going down the hill. This makes me think of sundowning, which is a reference to what happens to people as they start to develop dementia. Um, so it's not good. They see him crumbling before their eyes. They're just waiting for him to go. They know it's all downhill and it's only going to go downhill faster. It's a precarious situation. They're wanting somebody else in charge because he's still calling the shots. A lot of people don't believe that's true, but I have not picked up on anything to tell me differently. Um, it's a gamble. Every day's a gamble with him. Uh, this issue with Russia is really concerning them, especially letting them have control of the military. I do think, by the way, somebody intervenes if something gets really out of control. Uh, the Seven of Swords, the deceit. It's all catching up with him. Everything's just catching up with him. And that he looks a fool and those messages are coming out. Underneath, we have giving and receiving of, I think, medication in this case. The cogs in the brain just aren't working right with the Seven of Pentacles. So anyhow, that's what I have. So thank you for watching. I'll be back with another video.